not in a way that makes his heart race, in a way that makes him comfortable, complacent. And the moment someone becomes too comfortable, they stop trying. It's not about playing games, it's about shifting the dynamic to one where you're valued, not expected. When you step back, you create space for absence to do the talking. Silence is one of the greatest tools you have, and yet so many people are afraid to use it. They think if they disappear, he'll move on, that he won't notice. But let's be real. If someone can go 30 days without even noticing your absence, why would you want them in your life to begin with? If he cares, he'll feel the shift. If he's just enjoying your attention without truly appreciating you, then you'll see that too. There's something fascinating that happens when you stop reaching out. At first, there might be nothing, a quiet lull, and in that moment, you might panic. Maybe he doesn't care, maybe you were just an option. But then, slowly, the absence starts to work its magic. Because when you were there, responding instantly, checking in, always available, he never had to wonder about you. But now he has no idea what you're up to. And that curiosity, that's where things shift. Men don't chase what's already caught. It's the unknown that pulls them in. The moment he realizes you're not in his pocket anymore, he starts to question things. Why hasn't she texted? Is she seeing someone else? Did I do something wrong? That curiosity turns into concern, and concern turns into action. If he truly values you, that absence will trigger something inside him, a realization that maybe he was taking you for granted. But here's the key. You don't do this for him. You do this for you. Because the reality is, when you constantly give, when you're always available, you start losing yourself in the process. Your world starts to revolve around someone else's validation, someone else's presence. And when you disappear for 30 days, it's not just about seeing how he reacts. It's about rediscovering who you are when you're not pouring all of your energy into someone else. It's funny how often people think that holding on tighter is the solution, when in reality, it's letting go that creates the shift. When you step back, you take back your power. You stop making someone else the center of your universe and remember that you are the prize. And let's be honest, nothing is more attractive than a person who knows their worth and isn't afraid to walk away if they aren't being valued. So you step back. You stop checking his social media. You stop waiting for a text. You take all of that energy and you redirect it into your own life, your own passions, your own growth. And something incredible happens when you do that. You start glowing in a way that has nothing to do with him and everything to do with you. And that's when people start paying attention. When he finally does reach out, because he will, the energy will be different. It won't be you chasing. It won't be you proving your worth. It'll be him realizing that your absence was felt. And now the choice is yours. You get to decide if he truly deserves a place in your life. Because disappearing for 30 days isn't about manipulation. It's about creating the space to see who steps up and who fades away. And when you come back, you won't just be someone waiting for his attention. You'll be someone who knows that their presence is a gift, not something to be taken for granted. And that right there is how everything changes. We spend so much time trying to get answers from people. We think if we just say the right thing, make the perfect argument, or express exactly how we feel, we can force them to care, force them to realize our value. But here's the truth. Words can be manipulated. They can be ignored, dismissed, or twisted to fit someone else's narrative. Silence, however, is honest. It doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it doesn't plead, it just exists. And in its existence, it speaks the loudest. When you pull back, you're doing something incredibly powerful. You're creating space for the truth to reveal itself. If someone truly values you, they will feel that void. They will recognize that something important is missing from their life. But if your absence doesn't change a thing, then you have your answer. And it's an answer far more valuable than anything you could have extracted through endless conversations, over-analyzing, or trying to convince someone of your worth. Most people struggle with silence because it feels unnatural. We think that if we don't constantly engage, we'll be forgotten. But that's not how human nature works. When something disappears, we notice it. We don't appreciate the air we breathe until it's taken away. We don't value the warmth of the sun until we're left in the cold. And when you remove your presence from someone's life, they either realize what they've lost, or they prove they were never truly invested in the first place. This is not about playing games. It's not about manipulation. It's about stepping back and allowing someone the chance to show you where you actually stand in their life. Because if someone truly values you, they won't let your silence go unanswered. They will reach out. They will make an effort. They will prove through action, not words, that they care. We get so caught up in trying to be heard that we forget the power of walking away. When someone isn't giving you what you deserve, when they're treating you as an afterthought, when they're inconsistent with their effort, stop chasing. Stop explaining. Stop trying to get them to see what you bring to the table. Just step back, remove yourself from the equation, and watch what happens. If they reach out, if they change their behavior, if they start putting in effort, now you have something real to work with. But if they don't, that silence isn't just empty space, it's clarity. It's the confirmation that you were giving too much to someone who was never willing to give the same in return. You see, people reveal who they are in your absence. It's easy to respond when you're always there. It's easy to engage when you're constantly available. But the real test of someone's interest, someone's commitment, someone's willingness to step up is what they do when they think they might actually lose you. And here's the tricky part. Silence will be uncomfortable at first. You'll want to break it. You'll want to reach out, to ask, to check in. You'll tell yourself stories about how maybe they just need a little push. Maybe they don't realize how you feel. Maybe they're just bad at communication. But that discomfort, that's the feeling of you breaking an old pattern. That's the space where transformation happens. Because the moment you lean into the discomfort, instead of running from it, you reclaim your power. There's something incredibly attractive about someone who doesn't beg for attention, someone who knows their worth without needing validation, someone who can step away and let their absence do the talking. That kind of confidence shifts the entire dynamic. It makes people pay attention. It forces them to take you seriously. When you stop filling the silence with explanations, with justifications, with endless efforts to prove your value, you allow the other person to reveal their true intentions. You stop making it easy for them to take you for granted. You stop doing all the work in the relationship. And most importantly, you stop wasting time on people who were never willing to show up for you in the first place. So the next time you feel like you have to keep proving your worth, like you have to keep pushing for answers, like you have to keep showing someone why they should care, pause, step back, let silence do what words never could. Because the right person, they won't let your silence go unnoticed. Think about the amount of energy you've been giving away, the time, the attention, the overanalyzing, the way your mind keeps circling back to this one person, dissecting every text, every interaction, every little moment. And for what? To try and control an outcome that is completely out of your hands? When you keep giving and giving to someone who hasn't even earned that level of devotion, you're draining yourself, you're depleting your emotional resources. And you don't even realize it because it happens gradually. But take a step back. Imagine all of that energy, all of that time, all of that effort being redirected back into you. Instead of pouring yourself into someone else, you start investing in yourself. You start creating the life you want on your terms without waiting for anyone to validate you. Because here's the truth. When you disappear for 30 days, it's not just about them realizing your absence. It's about you reclaiming your power. It's about stepping away from the constant chase, the endless cycle of waiting for a text, waiting for a call, waiting for someone to finally see your worth. When you remove yourself from that equation, something magical happens. You start to see yourself again. You wake up and realize you don't need to seek validation from someone else to feel valuable. You don't need their attention to feel worthy. Your happiness isn't dependent on their affection. You were whole before them, and you are whole without them. And that realization alone, that is power. That is freedom. You might be thinking, but what if he forgets about me? What if I walk away and he just moves on? And that fear right there, that's what's been keeping you stuck. That fear of losing someone who isn't showing up for you the way you deserve. That fear of being forgotten by someone who isn't putting in the effort to keep you. But here's the thing, if someone can forget about you that easily, they were never truly invested to begin with. And if they were, if they really felt something for you, that absence, that silence will shake them. It will make them question what they had, and more importantly, what they lost. But this isn't about them. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. This is about breaking the habit of overgiving and under-receiving. This is about breaking the cycle of waiting for someone else to choose you instead of choosing yourself. The more you focus on yourself, the more magnetic you become. Not because you're trying to get their attention, but because you've stopped needing it. And that's where the real shift happens. Because when you're no longer waiting for someone to validate you, when you're no longer orbiting around someone else's life, you become the center of your own universe. You start prioritizing yourself in a way that is so powerful, so undeniable, that people can't help but notice. Not just him, everyone. Your energy changes, your confidence shifts, you become someone who isn't just waiting for love, but someone who embodies it. So let him feel your absence, let him sit with the silence, but more importantly, let yourself feel what it's like to stop chasing and start attracting, because the second you do, you'll realize you were never losing him, you were losing yourself. And now you're taking yourself back. People don't wake up and suddenly realize how much they care about something when it's always right in front of them. That's not how human nature works. We are wired to take things for granted when they're readily available. It's only when something is slipping away that we start to feel its true weight. And that's exactly what happens when you step back. When you disappear for 30 days, you trigger something deep inside him, the fear of loss. Not the artificial kind where you pretend to be busy but secretly wait by the phone. I'm talking about genuinely removing yourself from the equation and letting him feel the absence, that space you leave behind. It does more than just make him think about you. It forces him to confront a very uncomfortable question. What if she never comes back? See, when you're always there, responding immediately, making plans, initiating conversations, you're creating a sense of certainty. And certainty, while comfortable, doesn't inspire action. It doesn't create urgency. Think about it. When was the last time you panicked about the sun not rising? Never, because it's always there. But when something suddenly isn't guaranteed, it shakes us. It makes us realize we might actually lose it. So what happens when you disappear? At first, he might not even notice. He's used to you being around. He assumes you'll text soon, that you'll check in. But as time passes, and there's no message, no call, no little reminder that you're still orbiting his world, something shifts. There's an unease, a restlessness. He starts to wonder, did I do something wrong? Is she losing interest? Is she moving on? Now let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation. This isn't about playing games or making someone suffer just to prove a point. It's about giving them the space to feel the reality of what life is like without you in it. If someone truly values you, they will notice your absence. They will feel that void, and they will realize they don't want to lose you. The interesting thing is, this fear of loss doesn't just make him think about you, it makes him reflect on his own actions. He starts to question whether he's been giving enough, whether he's been showing up for you in the way that he should. Maybe he starts to remember moments when you were there for him, moments he brushed off at the time but now feel significant. And that's when something even deeper happens. Regret. Regret is powerful. It's one of the strongest motivators in human psychology. When someone realizes they've taken something valuable for granted, they don't just miss it, they start to feel an urgency to correct their mistake. And that's when you see the shift. That's when the effort comes, when the energy changes, because suddenly he's not just thinking about you, he's realizing he might actually lose you. And the thought of that is unbearable. This is why stepping back isn't a weak move. It's not about giving up or running away. It's about standing in your own value and saying, I'm not here to convince anyone of my worth. If you see it, great. If you don't, that's your loss. That energy is magnetic. That energy is what makes people sit up and take notice. Because the moment someone realizes they're not the center of your world anymore, they start questioning why. Now, not every man will respond to this the way you want. And that's actually a good thing. Because if he lets you go without a second thought, if he doesn't notice, if he doesn't make an effort, then that tells you everything you need to know. It tells you that you were the only one invested. And while that might hurt in the short term, in the long run, it's a gift because it frees you from wasting time on someone who is never going to give you what you deserve. But for the right person, the one who actually cares, your absence is going to be a wake-up call. It's going to force him to make a choice. And if he truly values you, he will step up. He will take action. Because that fear of loss is not just about missing you. It's about realizing that if he doesn't act now, someone else will. And that's a reality he won't want to face. So step back, not to punish, not to manipulate, but to allow reality to unfold, to let someone show you who they really are when they don't have the comfort of knowing you'll always be there. And then you'll have your answer. When you constantly give, constantly check in, constantly make yourself available, what you're actually doing is tipping the balance in the relationship. You might think you're being loving, caring, showing him how much you value him, but in reality, you're making yourself an afterthought. Because what happens when something is always there? We stop seeing it. We stop appreciating it. We assume it will always be there, and we take it for granted. The reason stepping back is so powerful is that it disrupts this pattern. It forces a reset. Think about any great song you love. If you listen to it on repeat, non-stop, it loses its magic. You start tuning it out. But when you take a break and come back to it, suddenly every note feels fresh. Every lyric hits differently. That's what happens when you step back. It reintroduces value into something that was starting to be overlooked. A lot of people think relationships are about proving how much you care, how much you're willing to give, how much effort you're willing to put in. But the reality is, relationships aren't built on one person overgiving while the other simply receives. They're built on mutual respect. And respect comes from balance. If you're always the one initiating, always the one accommodating, always the one showing up, you're not giving the other person the chance to show you that they care. You're doing all the work for them. So when you disappear for 30 days, what you're really doing is reclaiming your role in the dynamic. You're shifting the energy. And what happens next is very telling. If he cares, if he values you, he will notice. He will start to feel the absence. And that absence will create a desire to close the gap. He will reach out, not because you forced him to, but because he actually wants to, because he feels the difference when you're not there. That's when you know it's real. But if you step back and nothing happens, if you disappear and he doesn't even notice, that tells you everything you need to know. It's not that he's playing hard to get. It's not that he's testing you. It's that you were never a priority to begin with. And I know that can be a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. You shouldn't have to beg for attention. You shouldn't have to remind someone that you exist. The right person will already know. And if he doesn't, then your energy is better spent elsewhere. The mistake most people make is assuming that stepping back is a game, that it's some kind of manipulation tactic to make someone chase you. But this isn't about playing games. It's about resetting the balance, so that both people in the relationship have the space to step forward. You're not disappearing to punish him. You're not doing it to get revenge. You're doing it to regain clarity. Because when you're too close to something, you lose perspective. You get caught up in emotions, in what ifs, in the potential of what could be, instead of seeing what actually is. This is about showing yourself that you can exist outside of him. That your happiness, your confidence, your self-worth isn't dependent on his validation. It's about proving to yourself that you are strong enough to take space when something isn't serving you. That you don't need to cling to someone just because you're afraid of losing them. And let's be real, if the moment you step back, he starts paying attention, what does that tell you? It tells you that he knew what you brought to the table. He knew your value. He just got used to having it without effort. That's human nature. We don't value what is given freely as much as we value what we have to work for. It's why we cherish things we earn, why we take pride in things we put effort into. So when you shift the balance, when you stop overgiving, you give him the opportunity to invest. And that's what makes the difference. Because the truth is, the person who gives too much loses themselves. And the moment you lose yourself in someone else is the moment you become replaceable. The most attractive thing you can be in any relationship is someone who knows their worth, someone who isn't afraid to step back when they're not being valued. That's the kind of person people gravitate toward. That's the kind of person who commands respect. So if you feel like you're always the one chasing, always the one making the effort, always the one filling the space, stop. Take a step back. Give it 30 days and watch what happens. The right person will show up. The wrong one will fade away. And either way, you win. You see, we often think that stepping away is just a tactic, a way to make someone miss us, to force them to realize what they have before it's gone. But if that's all you're focused on, you're missing the bigger picture. Because this isn't just about him, it's about you. It's about what you discover when you remove yourself from a situation where you've been overextending, overgiving, overproving. When you stop trying to be chosen, you give yourself the space to realize whether you even want to choose him. So many people get caught in this cycle of waiting for that text, waiting for a call, waiting for a change in his behavior, waiting for the moment he wakes up and finally gives you the effort you've been craving. And in all this waiting, what's happening? Life is passing you by. Your energy is being drained. Your confidence is taking a hit. Your standards, they are slowly eroding because the longer you accept breadcrumbs, the more normal it starts to feel. When you step away for 30 days, you're not just testing his response. You are giving yourself a chance to recalibrate. You are breaking the pattern that has been keeping you stuck. You are forcing yourself to look at this dynamic with fresh eyes. And when you do, something incredible happens. You stop seeing him through the lens of hope and start seeing him for who he actually is. People will always show you who they are. The problem is, we don't always want to look. We make excuses. We tell ourselves, he's just busy. He's under pressure. He's going through a lot right now. But let's be honest, someone who truly values you will never need to be reminded to show up for you. He won't need a lesson in what's obvious, and the moment you remove yourself from his life, if he genuinely cares, he will feel that absence. He will recognize what he stands to lose. Not because you begged, not because you pleaded, but because your energy, your presence, your attention, it all meant something. And if he doesn't feel that loss, if he carries on as though nothing has changed, then you have your answer. But here's the part most people miss. This isn't just about the outcome. It's not about whether he comes running back or disappears completely, because either way, you win. If he steps up, great. But if he doesn't, you've just saved yourself from wasting another 6 months, a year, maybe even years, hoping for something that was never truly there. And in that space of detachment, in that moment where you've given yourself permission to let go, you start to realize that the real prize in all of this is you. You start remembering who you are outside of him. You start seeing your worth, not through the lens of how someone else treats you, but through how you treat yourself. You start pouring into your own life instead of constantly pouring into someone who never truly filled your cup in return. And when you do that, when you redirect all of that love, energy, and effort inward, you stop needing him to validate you. You stop craving the attention that was never truly consistent, and you become magnetic, not just to him, but to the kind of person who will actually appreciate what you bring to the table. Because confidence isn't built in the chase. It isn't built in waiting around, hoping someone finally values you the way you deserve. Confidence is built when you decide that you are worth